What are the apprehensions about contract farming? The main apprehension of this contract farming is like the agriculture may be corporatized. That means under the contract farming, the public authorities will create an intermediary mechanism through which the trader or a processor or a wholesaler will directly conclude an agreement with the farmer to procure the food grain at a later date with an agreed price. Now, the apprehension is the farmers can just become a laborer in their own field, and the entire agricultural activity is controlled by the corporates. That is what their apprehension. But as far as the land rights are concerned, land rights can never be taken by the corporates. Land rights are will be with the farmers. So farmers, they don't become the laborers, they will be the owners of the their own agricultural farm. Whatever the thing that they are doing is they are concluding an agreement with an agency. That means they are going to get an assured price with an assured market. That is the only thing. There is no change in relationship of right of the land with the farmer. What is an Essential Commodities Act? What is the recent amendment? Essential Commodities Act was brought in the 1950s. At that point of time, the food grains are so limited, and there is an every chance that the private people may illegally hoard these food grains, and they may create an artificial demand. So that is why they have brought that. And under this Essential Commodities Act, Government of India, under this Essential Commodities Act, Government of India can impose any limits on production, procurement, storage, processing of any of the food grain. It is applicable to the others also, but as far as the food grain is concerned, they may impose any stock limits in order to neutralize the rise in prices. In order to neutralize the rise in prices. And what was the recent amendment that was brought to this Essential Commodities Act? The recent amendment is some of the food grains like cereals, pulses, oil seeds, onion, potato, and edible oils are removed from this purview. That means now there is no stock limit on this item except in an extraordinary circumstances. Even in extraordinary circumstances, the limits on exporters and as well as the capacity to which the permission has taken by the food processors is not going to vary. How recent amendments to the Essential Commodity Act helps the farmers? Now, once this Essential Commodities Act is amended, with this, now both the farmers and as well as the traders, wholesalers, and processors can hoard any amount of food grains what they want. Then you will get the doubt, if the prices are hiked, then what will be the condition? The analysis which was mentioned clearly in economic survey, that this Essential Commodity Act, even after imposing this Essential Commodities Act, that means even after imposing the regulations, unfortunately the prices has raised. So that means this essential commodities has not so effective as far as the controlling of the prices is concerned. So, and one more thing is for the wholesalers and the traders and the food processors, especially and the exporters, this act has becoming an harassing instrument rather than a facilitating provision as far as this agricultural produce and marketing is concerned. So now the processors and the food processors and also the farmers and also the others stakeholders can store the food grains. And the point here is now the farmers can store the food grains. At present they are doing, but officially they can do and they can take a loan on that also. That provision must also need to be created. But as far as this food processing and the other holders are concerned, the past experience shows that we need to allow the free movement of food grains. Then only the prices will be stabilized across the spectrum and across the market. Otherwise these restrictions has really hampered the goal what we wanted to achieve. That is the unfortunate and sad state experience that we have encountered in the last 50 to 60 years. Okay, so that means it has streamlined the process of procurement and also the free flow of the food grains from processors to the traders and traders to the exporters and exporters to the any wholesale and retailers also. So it may stabilize the prices. And one example just I want to give here, when the prices are very high, when the prices are very high, unfortunately, we will impose these limitations and we try to save the consumers. Suppose if the onion price has become 100 or 120, we wanted to immediately impose the stocks and we wanted to save the consumer. But the point here is when the prices has become 2 rupees or 3 rupees or 4 rupees, unfortunately our legislation hasn't saved our farmers. So definitely you need to arrange a mechanism where there is a free flow of the agricultural produce, and those prices must be decided by the market conditions, not by the governmental agencies. And when definitely when there is a free flow of movement, when the prices has become 2 rupees, definitely the farmer will definitely the farmer or the trader or a wholesaler will try to store and will try to improve the prices so that the farmer will get benefit here. So don't be looking into the aspect of the consumer, you need to also take it into the welfare of the farmer also. Can a small farmers really able to get the access of better price in the global market? If not, how they will get better price for their produce? Now there are many questions. Okay, under this legislation now farmers have an access to go anywhere and they can sell the produce anywhere, but 80% of the farmers, 80 to 85% of the farmers in our country are small and marginal farmers. Can they really be accessible to the international market, or to that extent even in the nationally in various states, and even they cannot move beyond their district? So how can this legislation will really help these small farmers? This is a big question. See, there is a principle in economy: if any good or a commodity, if it is freely tradable, the prices becomes equal. If any commodity or a good, if it is freely tradable, then the prices will become same. That means suppose in some parts of the country the prices will be high, in some parts of the country the prices will be low, but if both the goods are tradable across the aisle or across the two regions without any restriction, then automatically the prices will be become equal. That is what the inherent nature of the free market. That is what the inherent nature of the free market. And the farmers no need to go to the any other parts of the country. Once the entire market system has prevailed, automatically prices will become equal, and the farmers who are experiencing the less price in their locality, they may not going to get this problem, because the entire market forces will act and they brought the prices up. This is how the market condition. For example, I can give a lot of examples. If suppose some commodities will be produced only in one particular area, then why the produce when why the price of that produce is same in that particular locality and also in the other locality where that produce is not available? Actually, suppose if Kerala is producing so much of amount of coconuts, coconut should have been so cheaper. But why it is not so? Why it should not be so costly in other area where it is not available? The main thing is only market, because it is a freely tradable community, and if it is a freely tradable commodity, the prices will become equal. Farmers no need to go to the areas, but the market will stabilizes the prices. That is what you need to understand. Can a few corporates going to capture the entire agricultural produce market? This is one of the apprehensions that most of the people and most of the some of the intellectuals and some of the farmers are also saying. If it is captured by the corporates, it's not a problem. If it is captured by the few corporates, it might be a problem, because corporate is nothing but a big business industrial house who invest lot of money, and they try to create lot of employment, and they try to create a good market for the agricultural farmers. Okay, so this is not a problem, but if few people are really able to capture that, definitely it is a problem. But when this market is throughout the country, and when you are giving license to the everyone whoever want to start this business, perhaps in this condition it may not be possible, it may not be possible to capture this entire Indian market by few people, because it is not something like a petroleum or a banking or a few natural resources where where actually they available only in the few pockets of the country, only in the few pockets of the country. So this is not something like that everywhere it is available. So it is really practically not possible to capture the entire market, because you need to literally capture the every village. So in a market condition that is not possible. But anyhow, the government should also must take care about this growing cronyism, and they must provide free opportunities to the everyone. If proper steps are taken, then probably we can avoid this capturing of few corporates. But if it is by the corporates of n number, definitely that will create a lot of good opportunities for the farmers, and we can export more, and we can add much value to our farmers, and we can create an assured price and market to our farmers. How agricultural processors and exporters helps the farmers with these bills? Suppose with these bills, now the agricultural processors and as well as the exporters can directly procure from the farmers without any intermediaries, without any APMC, because earlier they need to take it from the APMCs. So now they need to no need to go to the APMC and no need to go to the middleman. They can directly go to the farmer. They can get the produce at a cheaper rate. That means they can provide somewhat good amount to the farmers also. So the raw material supplied to the processors and as well as the exporters and traders will become easy. Will become easy. And next point here is under Essential Commodities Act, now they can store any amount so that they can run their business continuously. Suppose if you take the case of some of the food crops, they are seasonal, and if you start a particular business in that processing of that particular food grain, then it may not be available throughout the year. Now you can store it. So that means there is a continuity in business activity of the processors, traders, and exporters. And if they are able to export and if they are able to process it, definitely our food products will get a higher value, and our farmers will get an exposure to the world market and also value added product that will really helps the farmers to diverse their food grains, to diverse their agricultural practices, and so that we can start much more export activity, we can start much more different processing units, and ultimately it helps the entire chain of farmers, processors, traders, and exporters. Is Bihar model so successful? Lot of people are nowadays saying like Bihar model is not successful because they have liberalized this 2000, they have liberalized this APMC in the year 2006, and after that nothing had happened. But if you're really looking into the Bihar's experience, I'm not here to suggest what happened in the entire Bihar is so fine. But yes, there are definitely good things are there, but there are some aspects which are supposed to happen but hasn't happened. The growth rate of agriculture in Bihar is very high. That's what you need to really understand. Second one is there are some problems in Bihar model. There is an instability in prices. There is a low level of cross diversification. There is no usher in public investment. There is no usher in private investment actually, as far as these processing units are concerned, or storage warehouse facilities are concerned. And public procurement has come down, and inadequate market facilities. Even after liberalization, these things not happen perfectly in Bihar. The reason is not the repeal of APMC. When you want to attract a private people, when you want to liberalize, you need to bring n number of reforms. And when you do only one, and if you don't implement the others, definitely it may not give proper results. And then you cannot blame that you are not supposed, you are not actually should not have done that even one reform. If at all you want to bring a comprehensive change, you need to bring 4 or 5 reforms, and you have done one and you have left other four. And without bringing comprehensive thing, you cannot get a better results. And now you are blaming that why you haven't done that first one, you should not have done that first one. The point is the first one is the right thing, and remaining 4 or 5 also need to be done. Because if you just repeal the APMC thing, and with that you cannot attract the private people. It's not that easy. You need to create a favorable business environment in this country. Ease of doing must be done, and the whatever the processes and other issues also you need to take care, and the logistics must be developed, export facilities must be created. If you do such a comprehensive reforms, this legislation will become effective. So the point you need to understand in Bihar model is they have simply done only one, but they haven't done because that cannot be done at the Bihar level. That has to be done at the All India level. That has to be done at the All India level. So my point here is that the legislations whatever we have brought is not a sufficient condition to improve the agricultural um, procurement or agricultural growth in this country, but it is a necessary condition. These three are not alone sufficient. You need to bring more than this. You need to bring more than this. But apart from these three, you need to do a lot of things. So this is just a necessary condition, but not a sufficient one. So don't be mistaken on that. So you need to have a suitable policy incentive to attract the investment, provide a necessary market infrastructure, and strengthen the food processing organizations. Yes, you need to allow the collectivization of the farmer. You need to strengthen your APMC. Unfortunately, we haven't done. Your government market is not at all competitive. Suppose had the APMCs are so competitive, probably private people should have done in a better way, and farmers could have benefited. Unfortunately, government has failed all this front. So you need to bring a new reforms where you need to create a level playing field for both the players and as well as the farmers. With that, you can get a good benefits. Does the value addition only solution? Yes. As far as the agriculture is concerned, almost 45% of the people are depending on this. Unfortunately, it is contributing only 16% to the GVA. If it is a food grains, it is just only 10%. And in this case, you cannot expect the government to come to the rescue of the farmer to procure the food grains. Perhaps it is not possible. And the farmers today, they are saying that no, government is giving lot of subsidies in the name of MSP, so we may lose that opportunity. See, don't be you need to be very clear on this. When government is procuring the MSP, does it mean that government is doing an efficient business? No, it is not doing. When the government is announcing an MSP on the one hand, if you're really looking into the debt burden of the Food Corporation of India, you can understand how subsidized things that the government is doing. And the government cannot do for a long time. Somewhere you need to create a level playing field for the farmers, because I told in the initially agriculture is a private enterprise. You need to create a favorable competitive environment where the farmers can grow on their own. For that, you need to create an export facility, you need to create a much more value addition facility, you need to allow the food processing so that the farmer will diversify their food crops, and farmers will go for an innovative farming so that they can compete globally, they can compete locally, so that they can do a competitive farming. But if you go on assuring an MSP on few items, and if you try to procure only few areas and they don't diversify, and if you really understand the Punjab and Haryana, they are been doing the agriculture for last 60 years, and they are the more beneficiary states on uh, green revolution. And why still there is only subsistence agricultural farming? Why they could not shift to the other areas and other sectors of the economy like secondary and tertiary? Why they are unable to diversify their food crop? Why they are not doing value addition? The problem is that they are literally depending on only public procurement agencies. So public procurement agency is an agency which is just procuring and distributing it to the people. They are not processing, they are not exporting, they are not adding the value to that. And if you really want to bring the reforms, you need to do this. Value addition and exports are only the best way through which you can liberate the farmers, through which you can improve the conditions of the farmers. So on that front we need to do, and these three reforms are in that direction. And apart from these three reforms, you need to do a lot of things, but definitely we need to welcome these agricultural reforms. And in the long run, when the market forces are really dominant the entire rural part of the country, it will create favorable environment and create a lot of opportunities. So with this note I'm concluding. Thank you.